PR Connections Radio presents.
Hello there! Welcome to the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III, and I am your host, Jesse Oakley III. The purpose of the Sunday Morning Chat Series is where I, Jesse Oakley III, get to interview a plethora of people that are making big differences in their communities, whether they're authors, writers, entertainers, speakers, and successful people. You'll hear from them first right here on the Sunday Morning Chat Series. And boy, oh boy, we got ourselves a wonderful interview for you. And this is an amazing person that I've seen at different times, different periods, and this is one of those movers and shakers that I really respect and I admire. And I thought to myself, this person would be good for the Sunday Morning Chat Series because she has some great keys to success. And without any further delay, allow me to welcome one of my most amazing people that I do find, Dr. Doreen Galli with the Galli Keys to Success. Hey, Doreen, how's it going?
Great, Jesse. Thanks for having me. I truly appreciate it.
All right. And without any further delay, let's chat.
Sounds great.
All right. Now, you talked about Galli's Keys to Success, and it really piqued my interest and curiosity. Could you tell the people in the audience what Galli's Keys to Success is?
Absolutely. It is a method to achieve significant change and improvement that you'd like to see in your life. Most people, there's always one or two things you're like, I'd like to eat healthier, maybe get more exercise, improve my posture, improve my sleep. We have a long list. And regardless of what you do professionally, if the being human part isn't taken care of, then you can't bring all of your skills and talent to your job, to your company, or to your partners. And so it's very important to get this thing called life right.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Now, another question I do have for you is, you talk about the keys to success. You talk about benefits for different people. How did this get started? What was your motivation for getting Galli's Keys to Success going?
Great question. So 15 years ago today, I lost my big sister. Nothing like a death in the family to make you stand up and say, okay, what do I need to do? Now, it was natural causes, and she was fairly young. And at that point, I realized that my grandma, who lived to 80, was the longest that anyone ever lived in my life.
Wow.
And then I figured out my parents died younger than my grandparents, and my brother and my sister now died younger than my parents. And so I realized life is short. And the first key I started with was dedicating 1 hour a day just to yourself. I grew up very poor in a crowded apartment with a family of 7, 5 kids. The 5 of us used one bathroom.
Wow.
So space and time was a premium. And no one in my family really got the take care of yourself very good. Now, I've always been a lifelong athlete and such. But I heard the expression that you need to spend an hour a day as tax for the other 23 hours a day you live.
Okay.
And that's only 4% of your life. And so that was literally the first key I adopted. But I had been involved in continual improvement in general, one form or the other, my life. In my business world, I'm Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma. And at the same time, I read a lot, right? I mean, Stephen Covey's 8 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? Have them all. There's also a book my friend wrote, Mike Wittenstein, and he interviews a lot of different famous people and said, what's the one habit that made a difference?
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing for me is I never really thought there was one habit, but then I came up with the one habit, which is the golden rule for Galli's Keys. Yeah. You only make one change a month, and you keep it small and simple, but every month, right? And so it's been 15 years since I lost my sister. So I'm almost 200 changes in, right? Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just make one change a month, and it can be from any area of life, but make it small and own it and make it permanent. And so when you make the change and you decide you're going to do something, it's something that regardless of vacation time, regardless of visitors to your house, regardless of what goes on, you want to be able to keep it. So a silly example, and I know that when you hear it, you're going to think it's ridiculous because my friends told me so when I shared it and I was practicing speaking about the keys. Last December, I added 1 10-minute directed yoga to my week.
What?
And you're going, yeah, that's not a really big goal, right? Just, but I'm an Apple Fitness customer too, and it was already available. And I'm like, I should be getting more flexible, more balanced. I'm like, I'm just gonna 10 minutes. What percentage of your life is that in a week? Right? Nothing.
Exactly.
How can I not succeed at this? So a year later, I can take off my socks, even a compression sport socks, without leaning on anything on one foot. My
Wow.
balance is very good now. Before, I'm an athlete. I'm an all-American runner, so I've always run. Although there were times when I couldn't due to a car accident. Before I run, I automatically have added in different yoga things because it gave me a whole new body of language about how to feel good. So there's been several months since then that some of my keys I added were from yoga, like windshield wipers. It's something simple where you sit on the ground and you move your knees from left to right, but it loosens your hips. And for a runner, that's important. And
Mhm.
so it's amazing. You can do these really tiny little things, but when you add it, it's there. It's added to your life. It's added onto your keychain, and this is something you're already going to do. And I had warned my husband when he picked up the key, stretching to the left, to the right, forward, and backward every day,
Mhm.
is that outside of the time you committed to do it, you're going to find yourself doing it during the day. And sure enough, yeah. And so it's just a question of getting started, but it's important to keep it small and manageable.
Mm. I tell you, that's truly amazing. And it reminds me of that book, Atomic Habits, on how one small iota detail can
Yeah.
create something that's pretty big. And I'm
Yeah.
really, and you hear this? You basically sucked it to my brain when you came up with the ideas and the inspiration of how it became.
Yeah.
And I'm just quite impressed by this. This is truly fascinating and to the
And it's
point.
simple and it's adaptable, right? So you can get ideas for keys literally from anywhere. But the important thing is just one per month. And if one of your keys you adopted was the 1 hour a day for yourself, it's a great time to try out some keys. And so it's not unusual. You'll try something. Like I remember in 2020 when the pandemic hit,
Mm-hmm.
like everyone, my exercise went up a bit. So I'm a runner. So that meant I started running more mileage. And I live in Nevada. So we have a lot of mountains and more hills. And when you increase your hills too fast, that gets your hamstrings.
Whew.
Yeah. And I decided, you know what? I probably should be explicitly doing something for my hamstrings. At this point in my life, I wasn't doing anything outside of running. I wasn't doing any supportive exercises for the most part. I was just running. Body do it. And the funniest thing is there's this one yoga exercise called bird dog. You're on your hands and your knees and you just lift one leg up till it's parallel to the ground. Running 40 miles a week, one of them was extraordinarily difficult.
Whew.
Didn't make any sense. And I'm like, how am I running? And my hamstring is that weak. And so my key that month was I'm going to 3 times a day get on my hands and knees and do one leg lift on each side.
Wow.
So I did three a day, separated by 8 hours throughout the day, right? Now I can do 25 or 30, no issue. But every time I do them, it goes back because I remember just picking up one leg was so difficult.
Whoa.
But that's true for anything in your body you don't use. When you work in the garden and the next day all of a sudden your body you can't move. I'm like, this is not acceptable. This has to keep lasting me. And in my case, I want to break grandma's record. And if I can't work in the garden without getting sore, then that's a problem.
It is.
And so I definitely, keep the tax rate up. So I make sure 1 hour a day, one or the other. And that first key still comes up. I remember the other day when I was debating if we were going to go to the gym or not, my husband goes, well, you got to do your 1 hour a day somewhere, somehow, something to yourself. Why don't we at least knock 30 of it off, right?
Bang.
And
Fantastic.
so I absolutely have a great partner in kindness and in keys to success with my husband. So that always makes it easier.
Ooh, fantastic. Fantastic. Next question. We talked about the stories before. Now, when it comes to organizing and getting together Galli's Keys to Success, what are some of the other challenges that you experience when it gets to get this together?
Well, challenges were a lot of the changes aren't necessarily comfortable or easy,
Mm-hmm.
right? At one point, I had a habit of I drank a lot of soda, Coca-Cola.
Oh.
Yeah, and I remember I'm mathematical, and so when you realize it's 3 tablespoons per can, that's just shy of a quarter cup. So if I said 3, I'd be fibbing. I was doing more than 3 sodas a day. I was probably more like 5 or 6 cans a day.
Ooh.
The problem with soda is it has caffeine, it has sodium, and it has sugar. And all 3 of those are physically addictive. That means that your body will give you a negative response when you stop providing it to your
Mm-hmm.
body. You will
Yeah.
go through withdrawal, and it will not be pleasant. And so that challenge was really difficult, and I broke it down into a number of months, which I highly recommend. And remember, you can go from one key and keep on that first key if you're working on getting rid of soda in your life, and then jump to a second one the next month and come back to stage 2
Hmm.
sometime in the future, right? And so in that case, what I did is I first tried to minimize it. And so I substituted for the soda sodium-based seltzer water because there's 2 types of bubbly seltzer water. There's one with sodium and one without sodium. So I said, that way I can still have the sodium in the bubbly, but at least I'll cut out the sugar.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, a friend of mine had gone through this, and they instead went to the high alkaline water instead
Right.
of skip the bubbly at all, but went to high alkaline. Also, it had some sodium in it, and they found success with that. But everything but one soda was substituted that for the first month. And I mean, it's anytime you go through withdrawal of something you're addicted of, even if it's Coca-Cola, it's very unpleasant.
Yep.
It just is. But it's actually kind of funny looking back now. I have one beverage, it's water, straight
That's
water.
good.
So I made it through, but it's hard to imagine because that was definitely very challenging. But by doing it by steps, right? The first was just getting down to one, and I'd have like a third of the soda before lunch and drink all the seltzer, and then a little bit at lunch, and then drink all the seltzer. I mean, I was just like trying to figure out how to milk this Coca-Cola for the entire day. And then eventually it lost its attraction. And I remember having a soda before I stopped the one a day, and I just like had one all at once, and I was like, "Ooh, no, that wasn't very good." And so after a while, your body adjusts and gets unaddicted to it, and then you're no longer even attracted to it. But I found that that was very, very difficult. I also, for medical reasons, had to stop gluten at one point, which also
Oh,
has a huge withdrawal effect.
okay.
Huge, huge. Oh yeah, it gives you hunger cravings.
Interesting.
Massive, massive stomach growls beyond. But I mentioned too, at one point I had someone had hit me in my car, and I got whiplash, and it destabilized my core muscles enough where I had trouble running because every time I would run, something would hurt because I couldn't keep balanced enough. And so I
Mm,
had to focus on building, my core muscles and getting back into it. So it's which anyone who's a runner, every injury you have to restart.
yeah.
It only takes 2 or 3 days technically to get out of shape. If you get to a week or two, you're completely out of shape.
Mm,
Yeah. But
huh.
for the record, it's always uncomfortable, just so you know.
It's, it certainly is. Certainly is.
If
Certainly is.
if you think that when you get in shape that running is going to become less uncomfortable, no, 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 no.
Not a
It's about
chance.
how you feel after. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Now, what we talked about the challenges. What were some of the best moments that you experienced with the keys to success?
The best moments are when a friend says, "Hey, Doreen, I've been walking 15 minutes every day for the last 3 months, and I've been doing this." Or when someone used to have super gulps full of soda, and all of a sudden you see them with bottles of water all the time.
Hmm.
Um, just knowing that you've helped someone with a tool that is really simple but can really change their life. And they're 100% in control with it. But the important thing is, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to be kind.
Yes.
Even if you think you might want to do yoga 5 days a week, the key, your commitment is lighter. I've had weeks where I've done it 5 times a week. I've also had a number of weeks where I've only done it once. It depends on the week, right? So
Nice.
when you commit to something, it's a commitment.
Ain't that the truth? That's definitely the truth. Now, the next question I have for you is this. You talked about the differences that you made. Let's say that there is one person out there that you made a difference with, and they're inspired and they're impressed with your cases of success. If you they want to be in your shoes, if you can, if you have that advice for that person who wants to be in shoes and do what you're doing and create what you're creating, what advice would that be to that person?
Definitely to just keep at it and keep it simple and keep it kind. Definitely if you can find a kindness partner, that's always a good thing, to help cheer you on and keep at it. But you want to be kind and keep the key small because it's about the success. You want to find yourself where, wow, I've been doing this already for 2 weeks. Probably should make it my next key. There you go. Got my key done, right? It's about scoring those wins. And at some point, you might actually end up with a few things you adopted that didn't land up on a month. And that's when you're really cruising. But always remember, it's something you want to sustain on vacation, if you have company coming to town, or anything else that disrupts your life. So these are the true commitments, but they don't have to be big. They don't have to take a long time. Like even something as silly as working on your balance, right? Anytime you get past 40 or 50, everyone says balance is everything, right? You fall, all bets are off in life. It's what you don't want to do. And so if you just put one foot like at your like up where you're on your big toe and just gently barely pick it off the ground and see if you can hold that for 5, or do 3 circles one way and 3 circles the other, barely above the ground. And then as each month goes by, see if you can pick it up an inch.
Okay.
Something as simple as 3 circles in one direction, whatever, that little bit. And the most important thing on balance is when you feel yourself wobbling, everyone goes, "Oh, I can't do this." The wobbling is your learning.
Hmm.
That's how your body is learning how to balance. So when you wobble, don't worry about it. It's good. You're not going to look like Simone Biles on your first try.
I, I tell you, it's basically that some people focus on the end results too much, then they forget about the journey and the process. It's always about it's
Yeah,
basically
life is a journey.
yeah, life is a journey, and it's best said by Miguel de Cervantes: "The journey is better than the end."
Oh,
And
absolutely.
ain't that the truth? Because you talk about the journey and the process, and I'm sure that everybody out there has to do with the different journeys and the different things, and they want to be at that certain point. And
Yeah.
You can never underestimate the power of going between point A and point B in a journey right there.
Exactly, and you learn a lot, and you learn about yourself, and it's amazing, and it just keeps adding up month after month. Like I said, 200 months in, almost at 15 years of making one small improvement, and like I said, it could be really small, like 5 minutes meditation a day, that fit into your hour. 5 minutes, right?
That's
You need to be able to make commitments to yourself, and you need to take care of yourself. That tax is very important. You got to pay your 4% tax to yourself every day.
ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Now, you talked about where it comes from, the Cali guys' kids success. You gave great stories. You gave us great examples. How can more people know more about Galli's Keys to Success? Where could they go?
Thank you for that question. So there are 2 places you can go, or 3. On YouTube at TBW Advisors, T for technical, B for business, and W for whispers. That is the YouTube channel for the entire company. Galli's Keys to Success is out of Excellency Publishing at DoreenGalli.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn. And whether through LinkedIn, it says you can book an appointment with me, or on each and every video on the channel, there's a link that says become a client. But through that link, you can find out how to get directly to me and have a meeting.
I tell you what, 3 different locations, definitely worth to check out. For all the happy people out there, do not fret, do not worry. Just check out these 3 locations, and you definitely get benefits from Galli's Keys to Success. Now, Doreen, this portion of our interview is a shout out portion. It's shout out time. If you can give a shout out to the people that made a big difference in you starting up Galli's Keys to Success, who would you like to give a shout out to?
Definitely my partner in kindness, Mark, my husband. Absolutely fantastic. Yep, definitely. Our son, Steven, and his amazing wife, Kristen, and our brand new grandbaby, Lily. She always lights up my day anytime I get to talk to her. Oh, absolutely. But actually, I don't think there's a person in the world that I've met that hasn't had an impact on me. Even if it wasn't a pleasant interaction, they've had an impact on me. And so I don't think that there's anyone that I've met that I wouldn't like to thank, because they've been a part of my life and they've made a difference in my life. And so I'm glad to have had them in it.
Oh, definitely. And you mentioned, I think are there also books that are involved too?
Yes, I have a book which is situational for someone going to get a college degree. And so the time management is on the Galli's Keys with the golden rule of 1 key per month. The other chapters are somewhat of a checklist. But I'm the first generation in my family to ever go to college. My grandparents were all immigrants. And as an oops child, I was ditched at my grandparents when the rest of my family went on vacation. And so I spent so much time with my grandma. Love them dearly. It's how I am more in touch with the immigrant experience than my siblings. But she only went to 3rd grade. And so for me to go to college and land up with 6 degrees, I had to learn the system. And I really wanted to put all of that information into an easy to hold book that someone else who maybe wanted to follow in my shoes could, to help them get there. You think of it more for youth, but there's advice that applies to even people that would go to grad school. But like I said, the time management chapter definitely goes by the golden rule of 1 change per month.
Now, can that book be get at Amazon? Can anyone go to Amazon and get that book?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And it's available on Kindle as well.
All right. Be sure to get that book at Amazon, and make sure you get that book, because you can learn a thing or two from Dr. Doreen Galli and the Galli's Keys to Success. Don't delay. Order today. All right. Now, we are I do have one question for you, and this question is addressed to my crew and my audiences. And my audience and my people are known as the happy people. And they're always happy, and they're always inspired by the people I bring on this show and this podcast about great words of wisdom. And it always leaves them wanting more from the people I have here on the show. Now, if you have an opportunity to speak to my crew, my happy people, if you have a chance to give out words of wisdom for the happy people, what words of wisdom would you like to share?
to pick out your first key and go for it. You got it. You got it. Remember to be self-kindness too in picking the keys. It's okay to pick small because we want it to be permanent. You can always up the ante next month.
And that is a perfect bookend to a wonderful interview. And on behalf of the happy people that are watching this podcast, this episode, I take this time out to say thank you, Dr. Doreen Galli, for sharing us with the Galli's Keys to Success. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jesse, for having me.
All right, and this concludes this episode of the Sunday Morning Chat Series. You can check out our next episode Sundays at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you want more positive words of wisdom for happy people, I have a new YouTube channel that is lined up called Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. Just go to YouTube, type in Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III, subscribe, follow, like, and comment on the past interviews I've done, and it'll be right there. And this concludes this episode of the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III on PR Connections Radios. This is Jesse Oakley III signing off, and until next time, you take care of yourselves and have a good day. Bye.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.